Welcome to Crafts Along with a Creative Chicken. Today I'm working in my large Dylusions art journal. I'm going to begin by preparing my page by giving it a coat of white Pebeo gesso. You could use any gesso you like for this. We're just making the page a little bit more resilient before we start adding different techniques to it. Once I cover the page in gesso, I give it a really good dry off with my heat tool. Once the page was dry, I took my Art Basics modelling paste by Bear. I'm going to apply this through Tim Holtz layering stencil and using a palette knife. I do like these small stencils. I often take art journaling bits and pieces with me on holiday, and I find these perfect for just popping into a bag. Once happy with the stenciling, I dry it off thoroughly using my good old heat tool. When choosing colours for this page, I decided I wanted it to be in keeping with the wipe off page next to it, so I chose 2 acrylics that I'd used on that page plus another in yellow. I just squirted a dollop of my paint onto my messy mat, and I decided that I wanted to water it down, but rather than adding water to the paint directly, I just picked up a very wet brush and used that to blend water into the paint. I could then apply it onto my page. Once I'd done with the yellow, I just repeated this again using the other 2 colours. While the paint was wet, I took a dry paper towel and just used it to blot off paint in some of the areas on the page. I then got the heat tool and dried it off. Once the page was dry, I went back into the paint with my fingers this time and started blending onto areas of the page where I'd applied the texture paste through the stencil earlier. Next, I picked up my black Pebeo gesso and put a little dot of that onto my messy mat again. I decided that I was going to use some fat foam to apply some of this black gesso through a stencil. Notice how I'm dabbing and I haven't got too much paint on my fat foam. That's to make sure that it doesn't bleed under the stencil. I then went in with a second stencil and repeated the process. I then did a little bit more stenciling. This time I picked another colour of acrylic paint, which I knew matched into the palette I'd already used, and applied it with my finger through my Tim Holtz stencils. Once the page was dry, I chose one of my distressed crayons, again in a similar shade to the colours I'd already used, and I just blended that with my finger in a few areas on my page. Sticking with distress crayons, I then took another of my layering stencils and just applied the crayon through the stencil again using my fingers. After all, they are the best blending tools we have. Finally, I took another stencil from my stash and another one of my distress crayons, and this time I blended it through the stencil using a damp baby wipe. Do make sure that you squeeze out any excess moisture from your baby wipe in a kitchen towel before you do this, otherwise you will get your colours running under your stencil. With the background complete, it's now time to look at my focal point. The papers I'm using came from the Indigo Blue Mixed Media pack, which came out recently, but you could use any papers that you have in your stash. I folded the edge over and then drew half of the outline of a star, and then with my little scissors fussy cut that out, opened it up, and voila, a star. I repeated this a few times till I had 5 or 6 different sized stars to play with. Stars all cut out, I then picked up a piece of paper which I'd previously tea dyed. Now this is just copy of paper, and I just dip it in a solution of tea, dry it off on the radiator. I tore it down to roughly the size that I wanted on my page, and then I took a pencil and simply started writing out the quote that I decided I was going to put on this page. Once happy with the writing, I just took my black Sharpie and went over the pencil marks. I then tore the edges off the paper and positioned it along with the stars on my page. Once I was happy with where I was going to put them, I stuck them all down using Collage medium from Holtz in matte. And don't forget, all the products that I use are listed below this video and can be purchased online at www.thecreativechicken.co.uk. To make my stars and quotes stand out on the page a bit more, I went round the edges using my Stabilo Aquarelable All Pencil. I then took a little brush, dipped it in the water, and went over the top of the pencil to release the colour. You can see the pigment really jumps out here and makes the stars stand right out from the page. Finally, I created a border around my page using Distress ink in black soot and just applying it with my ink blender. Page complete. I hope you've enjoyed crafting along with the Creative Chicken. Don't forget to give us a thumbs up, subscribe to our channel. We hope to see you again soon. Bye.